Hello, Miss Steele here. This week we are talking about shapes and we're talking about lines. We're going to use both of those together to make our own rocket ship. So we're going to make the top part of our rocket and then we're going to make the little blast off back part of our rocket too. I'm going to set this aside, and for this project you're going to want some white paper. This is going to be for the back part of our rocket. Some colored paper. I have red, and then I have pink to add in some details for my rocket. If you don't have any colored paper, you could always just color white paper to make it more colorful. You're going to want a pencil and an eraser, scissors, glue, and then you want something to color with. I have markers and crowns, but you could even paint this one if you have paints at home, and I'll talk about that whenever it's time. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, and we're going to start with making our rocket. So to make the shape of a rocket, it almost looks like a little teardrop. So what I like to do is I like to start out with a circle. So I'm going to draw a big circle in the middle of my paper. Well, not even in the middle, kind of towards the bottom, so I can have more area for the top of my rocket. And then I start out with a big circle like that. So you can see it. On top of my circle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a space in the middle, and then I'm going to make a dot, if you can see my dot right here. And then from the sides of my circle, about halfway, I'm going to bring that to my dot that I kind of tried to make in the middle. And then I'm going to go from the next side, and it almost is like we made a big triangle on top of that circle. I am going to cut this out now, following along those lines that I drew with the circle and the triangle, and that's going to give us a shape that almost looks like a big teardrop. Like that. Beautiful. So now we have the base of our rocket. Now what we want to add is some details on here, and that's what I'm going to use my pink paper for. So first I want to make a window for my rocket. So I am going to draw an oval, which an oval is like a really long circle like that. Next, I want to make the back part of our rocket. And for that, I'm going to start out, here, I'll cut this off to the side. For the back part of our rocket, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a straight line like this. And then I'm going to make two lines going out to kind of the side. So it's almost like they're at an angle. Instead of drawing them straight down, I drew them going out like this. And then I'm going to draw a curved line to connect them, like that. So I started with a shorter line. I drew two curved lines going down to the side, or not curved lines, two straight lines, kind of at a curve. And then I drew a rounded line for the bottom of my rocket. And now our last thing that we want is we want two fins, and I want my fins to match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper in half like this. And I think I'm going to make the two fins kind of similar to how I drew my rocket. So I'm going to start out with a big circle on here like this. And then I'm going to draw a triangle on top of it, like that. And now since I have this folded, while it's still folded, I'm going to cut it out. And that's going to give me two that look exactly the same. Like that. I'm going to cut out this back part of my rocket. And then of course my window. And now I'm going to start gluing them down. Throw all these to the side because we don't need them, our scrap paper. Now a dot is a lot whenever we're gluing. So I like to just add dots, just like that. And for our window, I'm going to put it at the middle, kind of towards the top of our rocket like that. And then for our two fins, I'm going to add them on the side, and I kind of want them to be in the same area. So I'm kind of being mindful about where I'm putting them so they match each other in the same area. And now for our engine, instead of gluing it on top, I'm going to glue it behind so it looks like it's coming out of our rocket. So I'm going to put glue right on the top, and then I'm going to pick up my rocket and squish it just so it's right there on the bottom like that. You can decorate your rocket however you would like. You can add all different sorts of lines and shapes. Here's what I did for this one. So I'm going to take a second to decorate my rocket and add some details, and then we'll start working on the back part of our rocket. Alright, so I have my rocket done, so I'm going to set it aside so it can start to dry. And now I'm going to grab my white piece of paper, and this is going to be kind of like the blast off from my rocket, kind of what's coming out of the back of my engine. So the first thing I want to do is I want to use all different kinds of lines. There are so many different kinds of lines that you can use. I want you to try at least 3, but I think I'm going to add more than 3. And I am going to use my markers, and then I'm going to color on top with crowns. If you wanted to, you could use crowns to draw your lines. And then if you paint it on top, the paint wouldn't stick where the crowns are because they're made of wax. But I'm not going to paint mine, so I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to use markers to start adding in different kinds of lines going down. Your lines can overlap. So I'm going to add in a dotted line. So I'm going to go through and add in these dotted lines, and then we can move on to our next kind of line. My dotted line, I think I'm going to go in and add in some zigzag lines. So I want you to try 3 different kinds of lines. I think I'm going to add more than 3 just to be a little crazy. So there are my zigzag lines. Maybe I can go in and add in some wavy lines. Boop, 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 boop. And then I think I'll add in some bumpy lines. Like that. Maybe using a blue, I will add in some swirly lines. Boo. So now I'm at, I think, 4 different kinds of lines. This might be my 5th actually. And then maybe we'll finish with some lines that are just straight. Maybe we can add in some just straight lines. And you can see I'm going over and using all different sorts of colors. I use a new color for each line, and that makes it super colorful. So now you can go in and color on top lightly using crowns. I have this silver one, and if you unwrap your crown, you can color not just like this, but you can turn it on its side and color using the side of it. So I'm going to try to get my white covered up using the silver to go over everything. And since I did my lines in marker, they should still show up pretty good, hopefully. And I'm just trying to get some of that white filled up using the silver crown. You can use whatever color you want. I like whenever we all choose kind of different colors for what we're doing. It makes all the art projects kind of look more like individual, you know? It's always fun when they look a little bit different, so then we can look at everyone's and see what they were thinking, why they were working. Okay. So now I have this. So now we are about to finish up our rocket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to draw a really big triangle. So I'm going to go from the middle right here, and then I'm going to bring it down to the corner like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. At the bottom, so it's not a straight line, I'm going to draw a zigzag line. And then I'm going to cut it out. Just like that. following along, and then on the bottom, I have my zigzag. So we used all different kinds of lines for this, and now what we're going to do is we're going to glue this behind our rocket. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue here on the top, just a few dots. And then I am going to squish my rocket on top of it because we want the flames to look like they're coming out of this little engine area on the back. And then I squish and I hold it. And that is it. We use shapes to make our rocket. We use lines and shapes to make the back part of our rocket, and it is complete. I can't wait to see what colors you pick to use, what different lines, and how you decorate your rocket. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon. See you later.